They told you it was your patriotic duty. They told you it paid for roads and schools. They told you it was the law. For over a century, the American people have been enslaved by a financial system built on a fraud. A lie so brazen, it was hidden in plain sight. Every dollar taken from your paycheck. Every audit designed to intimidate. Every property seized was part of an illegal scheme. And now we have the proof. In 1985, an IRS commissioner put the truth on paper. A bombshell letter that confirms what patriots have claimed for decades. The 16th Amendment, the so-called legal basis for the income tax, was never properly ratified. Let that sink in. The head of the very agency enforcing the tax admitted its foundation was rotten. Several states were coerced or deceived into ratifying it. Some states flat out rejected the amendment, only to have their votes falsified. The IRS was established as a financial enforcement arm operating outside the Constitution. They didn't just lie. They rigged the system. This wasn't a mistake. This was a conspiracy. 1913, the year America was sold. In a single coordinated move, the Federal Reserve was created as a private central bank, and the income tax was ushered in through the 16th Amendment. The amendment overruled the Supreme Court's decision in Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Company, which had previously blocked federal income taxation without apportionment by state population. In other words, the Constitution was in the way, so they rewrote it. At first, they marketed it as a tax only for the super rich. Just 2% of households would be affected. The top rate, a modest 7%, marketed as a patriotic duty for the privileged elite. The rest of the country had nothing to fear. They said, no middle-class family would ever see this tax touch their table. But that was the con. They weren't selling a tax rate. They were installing a mechanism, a backdoor into the financial life of every single American, hidden beneath the language of fairness, wrapped in the flag, and sold by men who knew it would never stay small. The trap was sprung just 5 years later. Using World War I as the perfect cover, the top tax rate exploded from 7% to 77%. The exemption shrank. The net widened. Here's how they played it. Step 1. Expand the tax during war to fund the troops. Step 2. Shrink the exemption, quietly dragging more Americans into the net. Step 3. Once the war ends, keep the system intact and normalize the theft. It was never about one war. It was about forever war. The endless cycle of conflict used to justify endless taxation, enforced at gunpoint by a government owned by banks, not by its citizens. By the time Americans realized what had happened, they were already trapped in a system that presumed their income belonged to the government first, and only what was left was theirs to keep. What the 16th Amendment did? It gave Congress the power to tax income directly and endlessly, no matter where or how it was earned. It opened the door for total federal surveillance over private finances. It erased the line between citizen and subject, turning financial independence into an illusion. So, where does your money really go? In 1983, President Reagan's own Grace Commission was tasked with finding out. Their conclusion was staggering. 100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt and by federal government contributions to transfer payments. All individual income tax revenues are gone before one nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect. Let me be blunt. Not 1 cent of your income tax builds a road, funds a school, or pays a soldier. It all goes to paying interest to the private bankers at the Fed and funding a welfare state that creates dependency. You are not funding your government. You are feeding a parasite. For over a century, this lie has enslaved a nation. $330 trillion, stolen from the pockets of hard-working Americans. The 16th Amendment was a fraud. The IRS is an illegal enforcement arm. And every single penny taken from you under this scheme is owed. The great American tax hoax is over. It's time to take your country back.